بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم له مقاليد السماوات والأرض يبسط الرزق لمن يشاء ويقدر إنه بكل شيء عليم. The keys of the heavens and the earth are his. He provides abundantly or sparingly for whoever he wills. He has full knowledge of all things. So as usual, in the pursuit of wealth, security, whatever it may be, at the end of the day, the one who created us really has the control over all things. He gives the rizq to who he wants, the provisions to who he wants, and he restricts it from who he wants. Usually the ones who are successful are the ones who do things in the manner in which the one who created us wants us to do. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the Islamic blockchain. Today we shall discuss a few issues. Of course, the Federal Reserve, and their interest-based financial system, the money printing, and all those things are just leading us in a direction that only really has one result. And we will see some history of how that happened before, and Allah knows best, but will most likely happen again very soon. So number one, we talk about hyperinflation and the money printing and the interest-based system and what it leads to. This has happened in the past. The continental dollar is what it was called, but in short, basically in the colonial era, they had the continental dollar, and it was supposed to be backed by hard money, an asset, gold or silver. However, what happened was eventually the hard money disappears, and what they wound up doing was when the hard money, the gold or silver that it was backed by was no longer backed by, which is what has happened to the US dollar. It's no longer backed by anything. The value of it dropped. And so what did they do? Congress had to print more. And this is what we're doing now. They printed and it flooded the countryside. And this is what we're doing now. We're printing money and basically flooding the markets with money. That's why the stock market is propped up right now. A lot of things. That's what they're doing. But eventually it can't last. So what did they do? They tried to eventually, after that failed, which the current system, what we're doing, will fail. When that failed, then they tried to stop it by forcing people to take the paper money on par with gold or silver. Basically, hey, take this paper money. It's worthless, but we want you to accept it as if it is worth something. So people said, I'm not going to sell my goods and services for something that we know is worthless. So basically that failed. So the reason why Allah says that we don't deal in interest, and the only way a system like this can survive when you loan out on interest is you have to print more money to then pay the interest, because there's an increase in the money supply, and it eventually leads to this. So that will be the result. It will 100% be the result of this economic policy that we're in. And the main thing is preparing ourselves for the end result, and also freeing ourselves from dealing with the haram elements within it. So the one good thing that definitely happened that we should all be aware of is Kraken, which is a cryptocurrency exchange. Kraken is the first cryptocurrency exchange to become a US bank. Now, I've been saying for a while, avoid the banks, try to get your money out of the bank. Don't use the banks if you can avoid it. Sometimes we can't avoid a lot of it, but if you can get out of the banking system, you should. So why am I bringing you a story about a US bank and it being a good thing, because let's just go down to the highlighted part here. Basically, the main thing is Kraken will be a US bank, but they're going to have some limitations. And the main thing is subsequently, it will mean that the crypto exchange will not be allowed to issue loans from customer deposits. So the problem with the banking system now is you put your money in the bank, they loan it out, even though you allegedly have access to it. So they can do fractional reserve lending. They keep loaning out your money, and they don't necessarily have to have it 100% backed up while you, so that if you come to the bank and say, hey, I want my money back, they don't necessarily have your money in the bank, and they don't have to. But with this, Kraken is the only bank that I know of, and it's coming soon, that they're not allowed to loan it out. So they have all the benefits of a bank without the haram element of loaning out. They're not allowed to do that. And so all of the funds that they hold in a bank has to be 100% backed up. They have to have it there. They can't loan it out. So I will definitely be switching over to Kraken for my banking as soon as I am able. And I would suggest that anyone that is able should switch over to Kraken as soon as they can when it becomes available. So if we look at just a few more things about Kraken, this is from their blog, the exchange, and basically from paying bills and receiving salaries, everything you can do with a bank, Kraken can do that. They will be doing that. It's issued out of Wyoming, but there's no problem for that. It's for the people who live in the United States. If you live outside of the United States, that it will be rolling out in other countries, but right now it's just for the people who live in the U.S. Yeah, they'll be in the U.S. and it will be required to maintain 100% reserves of its deposits of fiat currency at all times. So it will never be able to fractionally lend out your money and have interest-based lending and things. So this is an outstanding development, and I think it is really, really, really going to be beneficial for the Muslims. So definitely check out Kraken. I'm definitely, as soon as they get up and running, I'm going to try to go through the whole thing and show everyone how you can get your funds there if you're in the U.S. and if they're in other countries. I'll show that too, inshallah. But this is definitely a very, very, very big deal. So moving on. But for the time being, I would say one thing that you can do. This is Binance. If for the people who are in US, Binance.us. What my personal plan is that you can actually deposit your funds in Binance. You can hook your bank account up to Binance.us. You can do it with some other exchanges too, but this is just one that you can do. It's just an example. You can actually hook up your bank account directly to Binance, and then you can deposit. You can actually deposit your funds in to the exchange, Binance.us. Now, your US dollars, you don't even have to necessarily switch it into crypto. You can switch it into US dollars and have it on the exchange. Then, as we'll go over, you can pay attention to the fluctuations in the market, Bitcoin and Ethereum especially. And then when Bitcoin or Ethereum is rising, you can then use your US dollar to buy Bitcoin and or Ethereum, and then you can be making money instead of it just sitting, and then you can then sell it back into US dollars. You're going to have to go through a KYC process for this, but this way you don't have to leave it sitting in the bank, and you have to pay attention to the markets a little. But even if you're not necessarily in a trade at all times. You can still hold your US dollars here without it fluctuating, and that way it's not in the bank. This is just something that I personally will be doing, and moving it that way. So you can, I'll have the links down below where you can get a Binance.us account if you are in the US, or if you're in another country, the regular Binance. Also, there'll be links for that, so you can sign up for both if you don't have that. So that's something that you can do. And then once you have made some money or whatever, then you can easily transfer it back into your bank account, pay your bills, use your cards, and everything like that. So also with Kraken, they are going to have banking debit cards and all that stuff. So everything that you would do in a normal bank, you'll have that. But for the time being, this is something that for those who are a little bit savvy with the exchanges, you don't necessarily have to be that savvy, but it's something you can do. I would say definitely at least, with some funds, you have to do your own research, of course, but even if it's just $100, you have to start trying to use these systems to avoid the banks as much as you can. If you can, you have to make the effort, and inshallah it will pay off. So that's one thing. So that's Kraken is coming, and for the time being, you can use Binance.us or Binance.com to transfer your funds into the exchange. They'll be outside of the bank. Then you can move quickly in and out of crypto if you want. You can make some money and then transfer it back to your bank seamlessly. It takes a few days for that transfer sometimes, depending on your bank and different things. But for the most part, you can definitely avoid the banks and make money at the same time. So getting into the trading. So of course, we always look at Bitcoin and Ethereum especially, and how they're doing. Bitcoin, of course, in the last 7 days has gone up. It has pumped a bit, as well as Ethereum. So all the other, anybody who was doing trading any of the altcoins, they probably did not do very well. We did not trade very much in altcoins because they're not going to perform well when Bitcoin and Ethereum are moving like that. So that's one thing we paid attention to. So before we get into the actual trades, one thing that we definitely need to look at is a few coins that we should avoid. Now, I went back and forth with saying stay away from them completely, and then I thought maybe there's some halal elements to them, but at the end of the day, it's best to avoid them. There's quite a few, but in this episode, we will look at Yearn Finance, which is actually per coin is the most expensive cryptocurrency. It's at $30,000. It's almost 3 times the amount of Bitcoin right now. It got up to $40,000 even, and it probably will get up over $100,000 soon. But is it a coin that we can deal with? In my opinion, no. So let's go to the main reason why we say we can't deal with it. Earn profit switching for lending providers, moving your funds between DIDEX, F, Compound, autonomously. Basically, you're earning profit from lending. We can't do that. That's basically interest. Interest is anything that's earned from a loan. If you loan your money and earn from loaning it, that's haram. That's creating money out of nowhere. Then it will have to be printed. Crypto is getting into this stuff just like the regular traditional markets are, and they're going to face the same result. The only people who are going to be able to avoid this, the harms that come with interest, are the people who avoid it, and the staying with the coins that don't necessarily deal with it. So that's the main part of Yearn Finance. They do a few other things. They have insurance and dealing with reducing gas fees for transfers and things. But the main thing is the interest that you earn and the yield farming from loaning and borrowing. And so the best thing right now is to stay away from it. The other coin that's similar is AAVE or AAVE, however you want to say it. It is here, number 30. LEND is the ticker symbol, but also, I mean, they say it clearly. AAVE is an open source, non-custodial protocol enabling the creation of money markets. Users can earn interest on deposits and borrowed assets. So borrowing, lending, you earn interest by loaning it out and people borrowing it. Providing liquidity to a market, basically allowing your funds to be used so that it's easy for people to exchange and currencies to buy and sell. That's one thing. But using your funds, loaning them, so that, and then um, receiving a benefit, receiving money back on top of the money you loan without it risking anything. You're not at risk of losing it. So that's the thing. And for it to be halal, there has to be a risk for both parties. So you gain, you lose together. If there's a gain, then everybody wins. If there's a loss, then everybody loses, or vice versa. There has to be some give and take. But if you only loan your funds, you have no risk of any downside, but you always are going to benefit, then that's going to create an imbalance that eventually, as you see in the traditional markets, that's what happens. So basically for AAVE as well, I would stay away from it. Me personally, I don't trade these two coins at all, and I would not. Just because that's the main component. They do have some other components to them, but it is the main component is the borrowing and the lending and how you can make money from that. We can dive deeper into it in another episode, but basically in this instance, I would say that you're in finance, AAVE, definitely steer clear from. We'll go into some other coins, but right now we take the approach that, just like with the food and everything else, everything is halal for us to do. Everything is halal for us to eat. Everything is halal for us to participate in, except for that which is clearly haram. That's which has been specified. So we take the approach that everything is halal until we can determine, or until it's been proven, or unless it's been proven that it's haram. These two definitely have haram elements, and I would stay away from them. But as far as the other 6,000 coins or so, you're free to trade them unless they have similar elements or they have issues with them, like these two. Of course, this is my opinion. You can consult, whoever you would like to get, some clarity or a second opinion or whatever. Of course, do your own research, but that is the issue. Me personally, I do not trade them, and I don't think that you need to, because there's so many other coins. So that's that. So moving into the trading, we didn't take a whole lot of trades in the last few weeks or so. There just wasn't a lot to do because Bitcoin and Ethereum were kind of moving up and down. A lot of things didn't look all that great, but if we look at the diary history of what we did in the last days, and so let's see, 1 2 3 4 5, yeah, about 5 and 5 in the last 10. And because sometimes when there's not a lot to trade, you wind up just trying to trade something, and that's something that you shouldn't do, basically. And so some of these trades were with like Ethereum and Bitcoin, and trying to go against the market, and that's where some of these losses come in. They may seem like okay losses, but the other trades that were not taken are gains. So most of our capital is in Ethereum and Bitcoin. So in trying to short them or cover them to where you can get some of the money out of the coin when the market is going down, for a time being, like if it goes up and then it goes down really quickly, you can get money by selling it and buying it back lower. Now, Sometimes it doesn't go in your favor, which some of these, this is the case, but we definitely made more than these losses by not trading and holding it. And as the price went up, we made money without necessarily placing a trade because we're holding those two coins. So that's basically what has taken place. But I'll show one thing is if we look at Bitcoin and Ethereum, that's two that we'll look at, then we'll close out this here video. But in I'll explain in one trade, in one of the trades that did result in a loss is trying to, at around this area, 10,600 was a point where it went up quickly, and in thinking, okay, if it goes up quickly, then it had been every $100 or so it had reached 10,500 and then came back down and it was going up. So say, figure, possibly you could make some money while it fluctuates between. However, the point is, if you're going to set your trade, and this is what I did, I set the trade to sell at 10,600, but I got distracted, and before making sure that I was able to move it as it fluctuated, it didn't happen. So it shot up really quickly, entered me into the trade, and then I was stuck. So as it rose, but the good thing is you set a stop loss and then you get stopped out where it's not short, so where it doesn't take too much. But as you can see, from 10,600, okay, all the way up to 11,000, almost 11,100. Still, that is profit that's being made as long as you got back into Bitcoin and go up. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The main thing I would say is on the daily is where you can, if you don't have the time to really get into the daily, hourly trading, just use the daily, and that's what we're looking at right here on the daily. And so for Bitcoin on a daily time frame, these are some of the key levels that we should look at and pay attention to. Right now, it's at 10,850 or so. And really, I'm looking at it to get around 11.3. If it gets up to 11.3, then yeah, we will try to see if it will bounce off this level. If it bounces off and comes back down, then we'll try to sell our Bitcoin here and make a profit as it goes down. And this is what we did. Now I'm thinking about it, I forgot I actually did not make a video about this because it was so crazy in the last couple of weeks. But when Bitcoin hit here at 12,000, what we were able to do is we took a trade here. We sold up here around 12, and we trailed it all the way down into about 11, into this area. We were able to sell to actually make a profit coming down here, and then we were able to do it again here and made some pretty nice gains there on the trades. So this is what we were looking to do here, but we should have moved the stop loss, should have moved the sell up before. But if you're not paying attention very, very closely and you get distracted, you could wind up jumping in a trade accidentally. That's kind of what happened. But what we're looking at here is for it to get to this level, 11.3, 20, 11.3 or so. If it does that and it bounces off, then we'll try to sell it here and maybe buy it back down here, or at least get some of it. If it punches through here and continues to go, or it doesn't come back down but it punches through up over 11.3 and starts to go sideways here like it's doing here, then we'll try to wait till it gets here. But as long as it's going up, we're making money, so we don't need to necessarily trade. Basically, we're taking Bitcoin and Ethereum and just trying to make money as it comes down by selling and then buying back at a lower price. That's really what my plan is right now, because the altcoins, all the other coins, are really not performing very well right now because Bitcoin and Ethereum are on the move. So that's the thing, really. 12,000 is a level. If it gets up there and bounces off, we'll look. But basically, keep an eye on the $12,000 level, 11,800 or so level, 11,300, and 10,300. If it comes down, it could possibly break down and come down here, or maybe even lower. But these are some levels that I'm looking at as far as Bitcoin is concerned. But right now, we're not necessarily taking a trade per se, but we're holding our Bitcoin and Ethereum and seeing where it's a good spot to either sell it and buy it back lower, or maybe take some tether and put in right now. But all of our tether and is actually in Bitcoin or Ethereum. So looking at Ethereum, Ethereum is really mimics a lot of what Bitcoin does right now. We were looking at trying to sell here, sell around here, and buy it back lower, because we thought once it breaks out of this trend, which it actually did, I thought that it was going to be invalidated and it would break out and break down, but it never did. And that's what sometimes with crypto, it just sometimes it keeps going up or down or whatever. So you kind of have to be patient with it. But just like Bitcoin needs to some levels, basically we're looking to see, and it's very close to hitting our target at 390 or so. If it gets up to 390, which is very close to doing, and bounces off, then we'll probably sell here and see if it comes down some, and we can make some money as it comes down. If it gets through the 390 level and finds support at 400, then we'll look to do a similar thing at 430, 440 or so, if it gets to there, because as you can see, it's hitting these areas and then coming back down. It hit and came back down, and there's more to it than that, but just in simply put, this is where you can make some money if you're just holding the coin. When it hits the recent high that it got to is around 480. If it gets back up here, we have to look and pay attention to see if it will bounce off, because it bounced off this day and the next day it bounced off of this. So if it is going to bounce off of here and come back down, then we can make money while it's doing that, instead of just kind of just looking at it. But I mean, that's kind of where the setup is. So personally, right now we're still waiting and looking. So we're not going to necessarily take a trade right now while the video is going, because we just right now we have to be patient with this, because Ethereum is kind of moving sideways. But I would say if it hits 390, then you can consider looking at selling your Ethereum and then catching it as it comes back down. Or you can just hold it. It may keep going. I am thinking that it will break down. It may never hit 390, but we have to wait and see exactly what the market does, and then we can base our moves off of that. So that's basically the video for today. Kind of long, but I missed a few weeks, kind of got busy, but hopefully we'll get back into doing it every day, inshallah. But that's the video. Inshallah, we'll revisit some of this stuff and see how it went next time, and then we'll get used to going over it on a daily basis. All right, assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.